Since her arrest, Coco Berthmann has eluded the truth for years, hidden behind a veil of silence and deceit. She has been a master of deception, an influencer who orchestrated long cons that defrauded thousands and shattered countless lives. Her name has since become synonymous with manipulation and betrayal. But today, that silence ends. And for the first time since her arrest in February of 2022, in this video, the public will be hearing some of Coco's thoughts surrounding her worldwide crimes. This recording took place in September of 2023. While other parties have also received this recording, this is the first video to present the recording to the public. You will hear Coco speak, and then you will hear our thoughts on what she said.
Reality check, my dear. I've done shit in my life for sure, but not to you.
This is a recording we came across during our research into the crimes of Coco Berthmann. What you just heard was Coco expressing her thoughts toward a former friend of hers, who came forward to speak about the emotional manipulation and pain Coco subjected her to. In this video, we will be breaking down some of what Coco said during this conversation. If you are someone who has been scammed, harmed, or emotionally manipulated by Coco Berthmann, we want to warn you that parts of this video could be hard to listen to.
So I was thrown into this public eye. I've never really wanted to become an influencer. It just happened.
Coco began telling her story of survival publicly in 2019. She went on podcasts and TV shows, spoke at events, and even threw an entire party in her honor that received media attention. She chose to answer a casting call that catapulted her to a viral sensation. In every Instagram post, she tagged celebrities and organizations to get more eyes on her content. She perfectly manufactured her image, rehearsed her story word for word, and marketed herself as a true inspiration. Not only was Coco the one who threw herself into the public eye, but to this day, despite the truth of her fraud being exposed, she continues to post to social media, use trending hashtags, and tag celebrities to get views.
The bowl came up with the light of cancer, terminal illness, so that if I take my life, it would be more understanding. But it was because of something, and nobody asked me why.
Although Coco has never publicly addressed her cancer scam, she has discussed it with those close to her, or when confronted directly. Her explanation is that she was experiencing significant mental health issues, and thought it would be better for everyone if they believed she had a terminal illness, to avoid triggering anyone if she took her own life. Coco often claims that her lie was intended to protect the trafficking survivors from harm. However, this narrative does not absolve her of accountability. Coco will admit to the lie about having cancer, but usually justifies it by emphasizing her reasoning, which she believes is the real story, not the scam itself. She understands that portraying herself as the one suffering will garner her empathy and sympathy, rather than condemnation. The reality is that Coco's false cancer diagnosis was not an isolated incident. It was part of a pattern of deceit involving serious matters with her followers and audience. She seems to imply that her perceived justification for the lie should prevent others from being upset with her.
So, I know a lot of people are wanting a public explanation and apology from Coco, but I just want to prepare you that it's not going to be the quality that you want or deserve. She will likely say that it was all part of a suicide plan. That was the explanation she gave me, which doesn't make any sense because right before her cancer diagnosis, she was always talking about how she was ready to be a mom, she wanted to get married, she needed a boyfriend. So if she does end up making a public statement, that's probably the excuse that she's going to give then as well. It's not true. I don't believe it. Even when she said it to me, I was like, there's no way. There is no way. You're only saying that because you got caught. Once again, these are real things that real people deal with, and you are taking advantage of it.
I was arrested, and we think now, looking back, it was only for media because I was within 6 hours released without bail. It finally was dismissed.
The police did not arrest Coco simply for the media. They arrested her because she had fraudulently raised almost $20,000 for a fake cancer diagnosis, and was spending the money on various luxury items, and the charges were not dismissed. Throughout this whole conversation, Coco continues to downplay and excuse her crimes.
My family in St. George, my adopted family, we're still very close, and it has brought us even closer. They started the GoFundMe on behalf of me. They're angry that the reporters never reported that they started the GoFundMe, not me.
Coco has been quoted many times explaining that it wasn't her idea to start the GoFundMe. It was the idea of a family that she is close to. While it's true that a friend started the GoFundMe on Coco's behalf, the reason the GoFundMe was started in the first place is because Coco lied about having cancer. In the police report, Coco stated that she expressed financial concerns regarding her cancer diagnosis. This is what led to the GoFundMe being started in the first place. Furthermore, Coco promoted her GoFundMe multiple times on her Instagram stories, putting it in her bio on Instagram, and even doing a live stream to let people know where they can donate. In addition to the GoFundMe, Coco directed people to her personal PayPal and Venmo as alternative donation options if they weren't comfortable with the GoFundMe format. So yes, Coco's friend started the GoFundMe, but for anyone to be angry that this wasn't mentioned to reporters is irrelevant. The only reason the GoFundMe was started in the first place was because Coco chose to lie to kind-hearted people who were willing to help her. Coco and Coco alone is responsible for that.
They started the GoFundMe on behalf of me. They're angry that the reporters never reported that they started the GoFundMe, not me. Never. The money was returned, I've never spent it,
Oh, but Coco did spend the money, just not on any medical treatments. The police report details her spending after the GoFundMe and Venmo money was transferred into her account. Right before and even after her arrest, Coco continued to spend the money.
I've never used my platform to raise money for anything illegal.
She spent the money at the Apple Store, Nordstrom, Best Buy, fast food, hair products, and makeup. It was GoFundMe that reimbursed those who were scammed once the fundraiser was reported. Coco then owed all of that money to GoFundMe. Unfortunately, Coco wasn't prosecuted for the money she raised on Venmo and PayPal, which was another $10,000.
And he's like, well, I talked to Brian. I never talked to him. Things like that. I was like, it was just not true.
In this clip, Coco is talking about the detective that was in charge of investigating her, and is insinuating that he lied about fact-checking a bit of information she gave him. During her first conversation with the detective regarding her cancer diagnosis, Coco randomly offers information that she's working with the FBI as a victim's advocate, and that she's working with the DA as a victim in a high-profile case. When the detective fact-checked these random bits of information with the detective Coco mentioned, as well as the DA, they said that Coco did not work with them in any capacity, nor was she involved in any open cases. When the detective questioned why someone would accuse her of lying about having cancer, Coco said it was because she was testifying against people who wanted to tarnish her reputation to seem like she wasn't credible. Yet the truth was that so many women had been scammed by Coco. They came together and realized once again she was scamming others, so they reported her.
People who don't know me on the podcast, just to be relevant. It's just hard to see how quickly, cancel culture happens.
Cancel culture? Accountability is not the same as cancel culture. Coco scammed people worldwide. She lied about serious matters and was even arrested for faking a cancer diagnosis. She emotionally manipulated and abused dozens of people. When those she victimized speak out about what she did to them, and when investigative journalists do their jobs by exposing her scams, that is accountability, not cancel culture. Coco is not the victim here. She is the perpetrator and predator. This is evident when Coco claimed that people who didn't even know her were appearing on the podcast just to stay relevant, as if somehow her scams only impacted those who knew her personally. However, Coco's scams did not only affect those who personally knew her. She emotionally manipulated her entire audience, including many trauma survivors from around the world. She used their community to fund her lifestyle, while preying upon them, manipulating their support, and lying to their faces. A few survivors appeared on the podcast to discuss how Coco's deception and mistreatment impacted them personally, as well as how it negatively impacted the anti-trafficking movement. These survivors were not trying to use Coco's name to stay relevant. They were sharing the pain caused by Coco's actions within their community.
I've never done anything to her. I've never taken anything from her, but she wants to let the world know that I've done this terrible thing to her. I'm like, Amanda, like, reality check, my dear. Like, I've done shit in my life for sure, but not to you. She's just trying really hard to be relevant.
This is Coco talking about her former best friend, Amanda. When Coco lied about having cancer, it shattered the world of so many, especially those that were closest to her. Amanda never once doubted her friend. She was devastated when Coco told her that she had cancer. She cried for her. When it came out that Coco was being investigated for possible fraud, Amanda ran to Coco's side. They cried together.
Bring up something that she did that was really hurtful for me, and I'll show you her excuse for it afterwards. But basically the story is, this was after she found out she was getting investigated, but before she got arrested, and she was super suicidal and upset about the whole situation, understandably. So me, trying to be a good friend, I went and bought her cheesecake upon her request. But I bought her cheesecake and came over, and we spent the whole night together, just crying together and hanging out and, you know, just chilling, being friends.
Amanda supported her friend. Then the truth came out. Coco did not have cancer.
Like, there's no way she would get arrested without, like, some kind of evidence. Like, you know, they don't just go around arresting people because someone said, they're lying. And I was like, no way, there's no way, she can't be lying. Like, how? She's our friend. We know the real her.
Even worse, Coco had lied about almost everything she had been telling the world. This left Amanda traumatized. Her best friend was someone she never even knew, and it shattered her trust. Amanda decided, as a way to heal, she would begin to document her grief journey. What happened when Amanda started to share her story was that other people who Coco had scammed and harmed found a safe place to share their experiences too. Trafficking survivors flooded Amanda's inbox, and she created a safe community where everyone who had been deceived, emotionally manipulated, and scammed by Coco could support each other. The effects of Coco's betrayal and deception on Amanda were clear, and it was heartbreaking. Coco's response to the reality of the harm she caused not just Amanda, but dozens more, speaks volumes to her character and her continued lack of accountability and remorse. Coco betrayed and traumatized dozens, and she seems to think that everyone needs to use her name to just stay relevant. It's clear that Coco lacks empathy for so many. We want to thank Amanda for being so brave to share her story and offer a safe space for other survivors, and those who were harmed by Coco Berthmann to share their stories too.
I've not listened to any of the episodes, and I won't. I just listened to it. I'm like, my therapist is like, this is complete bullshit. And I have seen who are the real people in my life, ready to like be my people, and who are not. And I've cut every people out of my life other than the very close ones who really know me, who knew what really happened.
Coco says that her friends and her therapist have listened to the podcast, and her therapist thinks it's complete nonsense. She adds that she has cut everyone out of her life except those who truly understand the truth of what happened. In reality, Coco has removed anyone who tried to hold her accountable. She has shown a clear lack of remorse and empathy for the harm she has caused, continuing to lie and dismiss the emotional trauma and deep pain resulting from her scams and deception. If it's true that people in her life are angry at reporters for not acknowledging that they started the GoFundMe campaign, rather than blaming Coco, and if her therapist thinks the emotional trauma she inflicted is irrelevant, then Coco has surrounded herself with enablers rather than individuals who will truly hold her accountable and encourage her to become a better person. To this day, Coco has not publicly apologized or acknowledged her fraud and deception or the fact that she scammed and emotionally manipulated thousands. It's clear from this conversation that Coco refuses to acknowledge that the pain she caused radiated further than her inner circle and goes deeper than a simple cancer scam.
This started being obsessed with the idea that I'm this con artist. Complete bullcrap. Not all of that bullcrap is true. It's just been sensationalized and made worse. But she's built this narrative about me, which is not true. I won't listen to it. It's like pushing the agenda that I'm this lying, schizophrenic psychopath, which is not true. And she pushed an agenda for viewership because it's just lies. Please just keep in mind that that stuff is for viewership.
The journalist Coco is talking about is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. She treated Coco's story with sensitivity and nuance. Her only goal was to tell the truth, and to tell the whole story, you have to talk to everyone involved. For years, Coco told her story around the world without an ounce of fact-checking. Coco smeared the names of innocent people time and time again, while facing no consequences for doing so. When Coco was arrested, journalists did what should have been done from the start. They investigated and fact-checked. The journalist and producer who covered Coco's story continually extended compassion and understanding to Coco, even though they were also listening to horrible stories of the pain and trauma Coco brought to so many. The only agenda the journalist had was to tell the true story. The reason Coco had a problem with that was because the true story was very different from the story Coco had been using to manipulate innocent and kind people for years.
Putting a predator on a podcast, of course I will never say,
Coco has shared her story worldwide through television interviews, a TEDx talk, numerous podcasts, and various speaking engagements. Despite this extensive exposure, many of the stories she told were false. She used these fabricated stories to gain a platform, exploit vulnerable communities, and bring in thousands of donations. She manipulated her way into leadership positions where she could further emotionally manipulate and gain the trust of more people. Coco faked a terminal diagnosis, emotionally abused and betrayed thousands, and continually posted on social media and faked multiple ongoing crises, causing many to rush to her aid. It's true that predators often lie when confronted. A predator is someone who seeks to use, control, or harm others. When you knowingly lie, persist in deceit even after the truth is revealed, refuse to take responsibility, and deny the harm and emotional trauma you've caused, have used podcasts and public appearances to prey on audiences for your own personal gain, aren't you also a predator?